Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. This is Houston Trong from thetradingedge.org, and here is your weekly market outlook for October 21st to the 24th, 2019. So we'll go over the week that was in a few moments. For the most part, the bulls had things in control until things kind of unraveled a bit on Friday. But for the coming week, the big focus continues to be on the consumer, or the U.S. consumer specifically, and of course corporate earnings. So this coming week, pay attention to Tuesday. We're going to have existing home sales before the market opens. At 10 a.m. So 30 minutes into the trading day. Then we have the oil number on Wednesday, always important to watch for that. And on Thursday, that's going to be the busier news day, we have that jobless claims number and new home sales at 10 a.m. So once again, the U.S. consumer in our focus. As for earnings, that's definitely going to be what's going to be most important to watch this coming week. Monday, we have a fairly slower earnings day, but we do have some notable names like Halliburton and Ameritrade. Then on Tuesday, got Snap, so that'll be interesting to watch because that is a high beta name. Wednesday, we have Tesla, Microsoft, so that will be a mover for many things. That will be the busy earnings day, including Thursday, which has Amazon and Twitter, Intel, and many more names, so watch out for that. And on Friday, a little bit slower day, but definitely continue to watch for the earning names and for any earnings risk. So that being said, let's jump right into the charts now. Lots to cover today, and talk about the week that was, and we'll do a sneak peek into the week that is. That's going to be coming up in a few moments, and I'm going to cover off a number of stocks to watch as well. So let's begin with the VIX chart, because as usual, we'll begin with the VIX chart, and then everything else will basically be the polar opposite. So for the VIX, let's begin here, right? So VIX is a little bit different than the indices on one chart, and that is the 3-month chart. So starting off from the very, very high level, what you see in the 3-month chart is as follows. So zoom in here. See here with the VIX, it has done, so that, it's kind of melting, right? So even though it feels like it's a risky trading environment, the VIX is not telling us that. It's actually been melting for the past 1, 2, 3, 4 consecutive quarters, right? So these are quarterly bars, and we just made a low for the year. So this bar now, this quarters bar, is lower than the previous quarters bar, and obviously this is the lowest quarter we've had in the year. This does not tell the whole story though, because the VXX obviously has some decay in it, so it's actually meant to melt like this. Over time, it will actually go to zero if Barclays would let it do that, but it does not do that because they reverse split it when it gets too low. But certainly, what the picture's telling us is that the VIX has been I guess the volatility has been getting out of the markets, and so we're having a lower volatility market. It doesn't feel that way sometimes, but the VIX is telling you that. So go back to the monthly chart. We have a red month right now, as I mentioned before. It's the yearly lows. This past week, we had yearly lows on the VIX. Okay. And on the week, we had a red week, so basically going right in the lows on Friday. Even though we had that kind of a sell-off day on Friday on some of the indices, look at the VIX, right into lows. It doesn't feel like that, right, based upon the sell-off we had on the indices, but that's the difference between trading the VIX and the SPY. Okay, so that's sometimes they correlate. They correlate inversely quite nicely, but other times they do not do that. And there's a host of reasons on why that is, but it's important to never get too caught up in the fact that these things do not always perfectly correlate. You don't want to get to the place where you're trying to make decisions on the SPY based upon what the VIX is doing and vice versa, because they don't always perfectly correlate. So as always, the correlations work until they don't, right? And this is why you always want to be trading the market that you're trading and not trying to take cues or clues off of necessarily other markets. That will just get you tripped up over time. Sometimes it works, and other times you can lose a lot of money doing that. So on to the daily chart. As you can see here, I've been painting this chart. Let's just go back in here for a second. I've been painting this chart for a while now, and let's zoom into it now. So if I zoom out of this 2-day chart, we've been trading around this descending trend line that creates this broadening formation, this bigger broadening formation you see here. We've been trading below it now for the past 1, 2, 3 weeks. Once we did that inside bar and down, right? So that was, sorry, I wasn't last week. That's 6 trading days ago. It's just been going down since. Now, It finally broke below that blue line. Now can it stay below there, right? That's the question. Will it stay below there, or can it somehow pop up? Because on the daily chart, what actually happened there was that we had an inside bar reversal on Friday. So when inside bar and down, it popped back up again, but it wasn't strong enough on the VIX because of its decay and some things happening around options to actually take out that pivot high. Now the indices did do that. We'll show you that in a few moments here, but you'll see that we had an inside bar reversal to the downside on most of the indices. Where on the VIX, it was an inside bar break to the reversal to the upside, but not quite strong enough to take out that pivot high. You'll see on the 4-hour chart, and this chart's been, really giving some nice clues. And if you just pay attention to the 4-hour chart, it really allows you to not get tripped up on the really shorter term price action and be agile enough to understand what's actually happening in the midterm, or in the not quite micro term but short term. So here's a sequence. So this is Thursday, this is Friday's action, here's Wednesday. So here, this is what it shows you. Inside bar goes outside, right? What's after the outside bar? Inside, outside, inside again. Now you need to watch how this breaks. Bam, to the downside. Here, basically it doesn't go far. It doesn't go very far at all on Thursday. Just goes down, gaps down, 1%, then goes inside bar. Now, what's going to happen? Does it go inside bar and up and keep going? In this case, it couldn't do it. It just ran out of steam. And so once that low gets taken out here, they're going after those pivot lows, and they did that. Went after that pivot low there. So it shows you just how weak that was. The low here was 21.04. The low there is 21.03 by 1 penny. Literally, that's what's supposed to happen. Is once this pivot gets taken out, they're going to go after that pivot. And that's exactly what they did within 1 penny. So this is why, if you're long VIX here and it starts coming against you, don't put your stop under there, right? Because they know that's where the liquidity is going to be. So it's not a it's not that market makers are coming to get your stops. It's just that everybody knows that's a pivot, and so you put your stop at 21.03 because the low here is 21.04. You're guaranteed to get stopped out 21.03, right? So that's something we see. We talk about seems like every single video is where not to place stops, because the market is a price discovery mechanism. It goes to where there's known inventory, and that happens to be a place where people know they're gonna find a bunch of stops. So let's talk about the SPY now, because that's basically the mirror image. So on the big time frame, let's talk about the quarterly. Okay, so this is what most of the indices look like. When I say what they look like, I mean this. I mean they're all trading right now inside bar. Okay, because it's pretty much a brand new quarter, right? We started we're about 3 trading weeks in now, and we're still trading inside quarter. This is what's different from the VIX. The VIX has broken one side of the range, right, to the downside. The indices have not. They're still trading firmly inside quarter. So right now we're still inside the previous quarter's range. And as I alluded to already, the reason why I believe the VIX has broken one side of that range is because of the natural decay you have in that product. Okay, so back to the monthly chart. Nice green month so far by the SPY. It's not a big green candle, but I say nice because the buyers, if you're a bull that is, they defended, right? So they did break below September's lows earlier in the month, but they definitely have fought back hard, and they turned this formerly red bar to a nice strong look, kind of like a momentum hammer. We still got basically 2 trading weeks left here, but right now the buyers, you can say, are in control. Weekly chart, firmly green. What can you say? Took out one side of the range, and now the SPY is trading full time frame alignment back to the upside. We closed above the monthly and quarterly open. So that black line, because it's a combination of the blue line and the yellow line together, shows up as black. That's our monthly quarterly open. Up until this week, we were trading below it, right? So now after going to the 3rd week of trading here now, we closed above that, right? So this week you're going to open up. Who knows? On Monday maybe the gap down, but if not, you're going to be above, and that's going to be full time frame alignment to the upside. Bias is still up to the upside, because guess what? On the really big picture, once again, the indices are having a phenomenal year. It's hard to repeat this, every single week it feels like, but I think it bears repeating, because right now the indices are not. Look right there, as a 12-month chart, SPY's up 20%, close to 20% on the year, right? That's a phenomenal year. So with less than 3 trading months left in the year, what would it take for this thing to really fall apart and turn to a negative year? It'd be very difficult. So right now the bias continues to be to the upside, although again you can certainly have shallow pullbacks, but realize that when you are pulling back, your default modus operandi should be to try to buy, because these are buyable pullbacks. They have been that way all year round. So unlike last year, I don't think we're going to see. We'll see what happens when the new month comes. But I don't know if we're going to have that catastrophic Q4 like we had last year, where things kind of melted. This year we're up a lot, and it's going to be very hard to turn that into a negative year. So let's go back to our monthly chart, and let's talk about more of the intraday stuff. So on the daily, it was a pretty straightforward week, and it gets a little more interesting when you get to the lower time frame charts. Because on the daily chart, it looks pretty straightforward, because here, this is last Friday, okay? So here is your monthly and quarterly open. As I mentioned already, that had acted as resistance. So the question was, can the buyers exert enough control to break above this quarterly monthly open and stay above? That's going to be, I'm always talking about those levels. Can you stay above those levels? Well, Monday it didn't look like they were going to be able to do it, because it gapped down, and it was basically a go nowhere Monday. Look at that, how tight that range is. It was down, minus 0.11% on the day, but it went nowhere right on that weekly open, so it didn't go anywhere that day. Then it gaps up big on Tuesday, okay, takes out that pivot and that pivot high. Well, actually that's already taken out, so it goes after that pivot right there, right? So 299.84, 299.70, so not quite strong enough. Inside bar and up, then right there. Once this low gets taken out, you have to watch out, because it goes inside bar reversal to the downside. You can at least take out that pivot, and if they're really strong, they'll take out that pivot as well. 296.97 low, 296.99, 2 pennies. So only 2 pennies within taking that low out. They couldn't do it. They weren't not strong enough. Very close. Okay, and then the buyers pushed it back again to close above that monthly quarterly open. So that's how you want to be reading price action, and this is going to allow you to see a lot more clearly when you zoom in to get a little bit more detail. Not so much that you're getting lost in the squiggles, but enough where you're actually reading price accurately, based upon all the fundamentals of price that we understand. So here is our price chart. So right there, right? So here was Friday, last Friday. The question was, like I said already, here's your monthly resistance and your quarterly resistance right there, that orange line. I turned off the quarterly line on this chart. So it ends up here. So it goes ends inside bar, okay, on Friday. See, this is the neat thing, right? So once you see this, what's actually happening, it gets very simple to understand. Because if you look at just this bar here, it looks like a shooting star. Looks kind of bearish, right? And probably so. So if you look at the 4-hour chart, what you actually see is that shooting star is comprised of these 2 bars. The reason why you have a shooting star is because this big green candle is countered by this big red candle, which is slightly smaller than that bar, which makes it an inside bar. So when it breaks down on Monday, a small gap down, right? We said very small gap down. That's an inside bar break to the downside. But guess what? If the buyers cannot keep going and they break back above here, that will be your inside bar reversal. Does not happen on Monday though, right? Because remember, Monday started off as a really tight day. That really small doji, it's that right there. Okay, so here's your price action lesson. Inside bar down, inside bar. That means the sellers were not even strong enough to break below this bar and keep it going. This is the stalemate. So if this high gets taken out, guess what? Boom, boom. That's what happens on Tuesday. They gap it up doing that kicking pattern, right? That's a kicking pattern because they gap it. Again, kicking pattern on the daily chart. Closes down here, opens up there. Anyone who got short down here, hoping for the break to the downside, they get trapped, and now you got to cover. Like we saw last week with the emerging markets EM product. If you don't cover and it gaps up against you and it starts getting away, it could go all day and not come back and give you a graceful exit out. And that's what happened. The guys were down here thinking, okay, I'm going to give it some time and maybe come back. Maybe it'll fill the gap and I'll get out at a better price. I know I'm going to probably take a loss, but hopefully it comes back around here, maybe halfway. I get really lucky, it fills the gap. They did not get that, right? So it pops up. Remember, the bias is up because you're trading above the weekly open here. Now the only chance was, okay, the resistance is right here. The monthly and quarterly opens right there. If it breaks above there, then it's gone, and that's what happened. Once it breaks above there, they're going after that pivot, and they did that, took out these two pivots and squeezed everyone out, and took out that pivot. Well, that's already been taken out. That pivot was not taken out that day, but it took it out several days later. So there's your kind of a squeeze in the morning, and the afternoon session was kind of uneventful. It pulled back a bit. Here, this is your Wednesday, very uneventful day on Wednesday. And I'm not going to do this for every single product. I'm just showing you, the price action lesson on SPY, because they all look the same after that. Look, that's your Wednesday. All right, so there's your inside bar. That's this sequence here. Inside bar, right? Gaps down, inside bar. The sellers could not break it down, sitting right there. Then, on Thursday, good news, pops up. Inside bar up. Here's the issue, though. It goes inside bar up, kind of a weak weak bar on Thursday. Now Qs, I'll show you something more important on the Qs, but this Qs was actually quite weak. That was one of the only indices that gave up, that they basically gap filled on Thursday morning. So here's Thursday, inside bar up. Here's an issue, inside bar here, right? That means the buyers, they got that gap up they wanted, right? They took out all these pivots. That pivot there took out this pivot here. See that? That took out that pivot there. Not strong enough to take out that pivot though. They run out of steam. They just run out of steam. They're going right in the highs here now, right? So they're going up, 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 up. They run out of buyers. Just runs out of steam. And the second half of the day goes nowhere. Look, the gain is 0%. so for that period here, it basically goes nowhere for basically 4 hours, or whenever this bar closes on TradingView. Inside bar. Look at this. This is the opposite of this. See? Inside bar down, inside. This is inside bar up, inside. That's the mirror opposite. Once this low gets taken out, watch out, and that's what happens, because that creates the inside bar reversal to the downside, taking out all these pivots here. That one there, did it take it out? No, this is 97, this is 99, right? Yeah, so it came very, very close, but did not. Inside bar here. So on Mondays is what's you need to watch out for. Right now, it's inside bar down, inside bar. Does it go down again? That means the sellers have momentum. But right now you have the monthly quarterly open right there, and they've defended it so far. Okay, so they defended it. So now you want to see what happens on Monday. Does it break below there, or do you still trade with full time frame alignment to the upside? Here's would be if you're a buyer, this is what you want to see. This would be the most bullish pattern you could see. Going into Monday, you'd like to see it break down here. Okay, so you see this down here, it breaks down, goes inside bar and down. Then all of a sudden, either in the morning session or in the afternoon, they pop it up and they take out that pivot, and then they go after all these pivots. So they start gunning for all these pivots afterwards. That would be an inside bar reversal back to the upside again. Okay, that would be the ideal scenario if you're a buyer, because that traps shorts. Because it breaks below the low here, people will get more short, and then if all of a sudden the buyers step up and they overwhelm them and they take it back to the upside and they take out that pivot, they're going all the way back up and taking all the rest of those guys. That's your ideal scenario if you're a buyer. If you're a short, then you want to continue seeing this, right? You want to see this inside bar break the downside, and and for that to continue down, and not see any sort of outside bar that goes green. Because if you get a gap down and all of a sudden goes outside bar against you and goes green, you got to watch out, because that traps all the shorts down here and it will come back against you. Okay, so there you go. You need to see the sellers stay or get below and stay below the monthly quarterly open for that scenario, or for that bias to turn. Now let's talk about Qs, and we'll speed up a bit now because we've done the bar by bar on the 4 hour. So Qs very strong for the month, even though it really got weak this past week. Here on the monthly chart, I'm gonna blow away some of these lines here. We may not need so many of these lines. Let's get rid of some of these lines here. Oh, well, let's keep it for now. Inside bar down right earlier in the month, but they fought back just like the SPY, and now it's a nice strong hammer. Still 2 weeks of trading left going into the third week of the trading month. So still, but this thing goes any higher, it's going to turn to an outside bar. Came very close. Look, 194.71, 194.50. So if this thing turns to an outside bar, then you got to watch out what happens the next month. We still have a lot of month left, so I'm not going to start to speculate yet. But we want to see what happens with this bar. Does it stay this way, or does it go outside bar? You got to watch for that, because if it goes outside bar, then that's potentially setting up a momentum situation on either side of the trade. Weekly chart, green bar, so green week, even though they gave back a lot of gains in the second half of the week, still up 0.3% for the week. On the daily chart, what we're looking at here is that inside bar reversal I talked about that happened on SPY, But Qs, the buyers were definitely, the sellers definitely overwhelmed the buyers on Thursday, Friday. Look at that Friday bar, down 1%, right? So here's the notable thing on Friday. They bounced off of the weekly open. See that bounce? I was watching that thing on Friday, caught the bounce off of that on Friday afternoon, right at 12:30. I may explain that trade if you have time. Right off that weekly open, very, very nice trade on the 5-minute bar. And then, as I mentioned, if you get that inside buy reversal, they're going to come after the pivots. They're weak enough to go after that, and they take out not quite these guys. Here's the low is 190.65, 190.71, 6 cents away from taking out the lows of that one. And the buyers defended, meaning they kept the weak green, right? Remember that? They kept the weak green by 0.3%. So the buyers defended. So you're still trading, even with that really ugly price action. You're still, for the last 2 days, you're still trading full time from alignment to the upside. Green month, green quarter. This week was a green week. The high growth names though certainly got hit. Guys like Apple stayed very, very strong though. I'm just going to quickly show the Apple chart because I'm not going to show it later. But Apple going into close to all-time highs still. Look on Thursday, Friday, they're not stopping Apple, right? That's still green, still very strong green days. So Apple still staying strong. But the high growth names, like the cloud and SaaS companies, guys like MDB, MongoDB. Look at these guys are getting crushed on Friday. Although they bought some of it back. Names like CrowdStrike. That you can just keep going on down the list. Names like Docu. All these SaaS names, they really got hit. Smar. Anyways, you get the picture. They hit them hard. Some of these high growth names. Question is, do they where did they rotate? Did they go to? Looks like they went to financials, but we'll have to wait and see how Monday plays out. So back to the Q intraday chart now. I'm gonna go back to Qs for intraday. Okay, here's the same scenario that played out on the 4-hour chart with the Qs. Okay, so in the Qs, here we go. The last here, inside bar. So here's your Wednesday. Inside bar up, that's your big gap. Look what happened on Thursday when they gapped it up. This actually filled the gap. See, so it went out, it popped up here, opened up there, came all the way back down, filled that gap. That's very, very bearish when you see that. And then it goes inside bar for the second half of that day. So the issue is that you're setting up an inside bar reversal right there, right? So if we look at the daily chart, it's this day here. It was a very bearish day because if you're a buyer, you got everything you wanted on Thursday. It gaps up. That's the dangerous thing when you get those scenarios. It's great that when things gap up if you're long, but it's also very dangerous because if it's a very good indicator that if things come back in, it's not as bullish as you think. That means people are basically lightening up their positions or selling into strength, and there's no more buyers up here. Like how that's right on the edge of that Bollinger Band, right? Yeah, if you hit the Bollinger Band, you gotta start doing the Bollinger Band walk, because if you don't, you're coming back in through, and that's what happened on Friday. Boom. We now see it on the 4-hour chart. It sets up the inside bar reversal right there. See, it opens up right there, inside bar reversal. You can get short right there. Even though it's going against time frames, you have no support until down here, the weekly open. So look at that wide range. That's basically a 1% move, a little more than that, from this area to down to there. It's a very, very nice sell-off there. Lots of opportunity to get short many names that I showed already that have higher beta than the Qs. And then inside bar to close the day. So I'll show you the really quick intraday chart on that scenario, on how that traded, how I traded the Qs on that. So remember, it bounced off the weekly open. Very simple trade on that one, right there. Okay, right there. See the sequence right there? Inside bar, and it goes inside bar and down. As soon as you break above there, here's your inside bar reversal. So here you can see the volume's actually picking up. I'll just move this out of the way. The volume to the downside is picking up. You can see the bars right there. Hits the weekly open, very, very high volume. That's the highest volume in this sequence. Okay. At the same time, I was also watching, and this is not a proxy for Qs, but I was also watching the NYSE tick, because it's doing the exact same bottoming pattern on the SPY, and it finally did it hit the lowest tick levels, tick readings of the day. It was a minus 1,100 tick move on the NYSE tick, indicator, and so it was very, very, we hit every single stock there, basically hitting, lower ticks. So that registered a short-term, oversold area, and then once it goes inside bar reversal to the upside, gone. That's nice. It never came back, right? So very, very nice trade there, set up on the 5-minute chart. You can even go a little something a higher time frame if you want. 10-minute did the exact same thing. Okay, so right there. Now you don't. My trading charts look slightly different. I have an inside bar on this bar here on my IQ feed. Data feed, but with this TradingView free data, it looks slightly different, but basically the scenario is kind of the same off of this weekly open on high volume. Also, I just want to point out the importance of understanding time. Guess what time this happens? Right there. When's this reversal? 12:30. Okay, so as I pointed out in my chat room that I hang out in during the trading day, as it was coming in here, I was noting the higher volume and noting the excessive tick levels, and I said if the sellers cannot keep it going, we may register a reversal here. And they could not keep it going because when you have that much volume and those low readings, the sellers have to keep going, otherwise they get exhausted. And then the trading becomes technical, right? So there it gets oversold, quote unquote. And then the new hour flips. Okay, so what's significant about that is because when you get the new hour and all of a sudden it starts at 12:30, right? Guess what? Anyone who's looking at a 60-minute chart right there, they start seeing a green bar. Even the 30-minute charts, it registers a green bar. The reason why that's important is this. You see this candle right here? This is the candle that reversed. Look at where it opens and look at where it goes. Okay, so it opens right near the bottom and closes right near the top. There are candles like this all the time. Look, this candle is the same thing. Opens at the top, closes near the bottom. Opens at the top, closes near the bottom. Opens at here, not quite the top, but you'll see many instances of it where you're seeing opens at the bottom, closes at the top. If you see bars like this literally means that the buyers or the sellers are in control for the whole hour, right? That's the way price works. It's fractal in nature. So this tells you that right from the beginning of the hour, the buyers take control and they don't let go of it until the hour closes. That's exactly what it's showing you, right? Look, sellers take control right at the beginning of the hour, very close to it, and have full control until the end of the hour. And flips. Look, buyers have full control right from the beginning of the hour to the end of the hour. Zoom back down, 10 minutes. Okay, 11:30. Let's do the sellers. Look, there is. You see that red line? That's the hourly open. Sellers have control right from the beginning of 11:30 to the end of 11:30. Buyers take control right at the beginning of 12:30. Boom, there's your 1:30. And it gets a little bit tight here, but it's still a green bar to the upside, right? That bar there goes inside bar and up. In the last hour of the trading day, sellers again take over right there. There. Okay. So again, a little deeper price action understanding there today with the complementary nature of time to help you understand the fractal nature of price. So let's zoom in. Let's keep moving here now. Let's go back to Russell, and we'll go a little faster, as now we have a very good understanding of the indices. So Russell, big hammer for the month, currently green. This week, Russell, like the Dow, went inside week and up. So finally stopped this momentum. Not quite momentum, but it had a multi-week streak to the downside, had that inside week, and finally broke to the upside. I'm always doubtful though when the Russell leads. This was the scenario on Monday. I mean, seriously, on the daily chart on this week, is that the Russell started to lead the other indices. Look, this is your Tuesday. It was up 1.15%. So it was well in the lead. Here on Thursday, it was well in the lead again, 1.18%. Way ahead of the other indices. I always get wary because the Russell has done a terrible job most this year of outperforming the other indices. So usually, it feels like to me it's more of a bull trap. When you have the Russells leading, it's not really a show of strength. So finally on Friday, you have a red day. For our chart, gives you the exact same scenario here. Here on Wednesday, outside inside pattern that leads to a breakup to the upside. Outside inside, pop to the upside. Okay, breaks above the monthly quarterly open. So now Russell trading full time frame alignment to the upside. And then on Friday, slight selling in the morning, they defend that level and they go inside for the last 4 hours of the day. Let's take a look at the Dow now. So the Dow, and unfortunately TradingView, I'm not going to really show the Dow chart because TradingView, for whatever reason, the chart data is incorrect. So they have some bad data. So unfortunately it skews everything. So let's just pass on the Dow for this video because it's not going to really help you because the Dow did not do that. so we're going to go ahead and skip on the Dow. Basically though, what you want to see on the Dow, like the Russell, is on the 4-hour chart. Like which way does it break? Because most of the indices, I believe, they end up with inside bars on the 4-hour chart. See how the Qs did that, and the SPY did that, I believe, as well. Yeah, they all have inside bars. Unfortunately, the Dow data got skewed by this really big bad candle, so you don't really see it properly. But the Dow was the weakest this week because of the J&J news and the Boeing news that came out on Friday afternoon. So the Dow definitely one of the weaker indices this past week. Fortunately, the data is not helping us do the analysis. Let's move to the TSX. So Toronto Stock Exchange pulling back a bit still this week. Red month right now. Okay. Now it did take out the prior month's low, but now above it. So the buyers did step back a bit. But what you have really going on, the TSX, is consolidation. Very tight trading right now because here you have 2 consecutive inside weeks, inside coming this week. Now you really want to see which way does this inside bar break. Does it break and does it stay down, or does it break and stay up, or does it come back through the range? What's here on the daily chart is what you want to look for. You have this momentum scenario right now. Outside bar down on Friday, okay? Not down a lot. Remember, it was an inside week, so it's very tight trading because the week itself only resulted in a 0.25% pullback. So now we know this pattern, outside bar and down. You want to continue to see now, does it continue to go outside bar and down, or does it simply when a high gets taken out, that momentum will be extinguished? Emerging markets was looking very strong for the past, I guess, a couple weeks now, but finally weakened a bit at the end of the week. Green month up what, 2.67%, so very strong month so far. 2 green weeks in a row, and it was coasting along pretty nicely up until Thursday when you had that red day. As I mentioned with the Qs chart, it did not fill the gap, but you don't want to see this either when you're long this and it gaps up here and you're like, great, that's great, you're sitting on gains now, takes out all the pivots. Well, who else are you going to attract to this? Who else are you going to attract into this trade? It took out that pivot there because you knew it was liquidity here, right? 42.35 is the high here, 42.39, 4 cents, breaks above, stops out anyone who put their stop up there, frustrating them, and then pulls back on Friday because it has to keep going. It's up in here in the Bollinger Bands. It needs to do the Bollinger Band walk, like down here, right? See what happened? They gapped it down, pops back up because it needs to keep going. But that's if it doesn't keep going down, that's what happens. It's gonna pop up. Okay, so on the 4-hour chart, just continue to watch and see how this thing breaks. Which way is that inside bar break? Right now, trading full time from alignment to the upside. But we're going to watch and see how this inside bar breaks on Monday. Because here it went outside, up. See this? This is momentum. Outside, up. Then here on Thursday, there's your gap up. That they kind of sell off. And now, the past 2 days have been weak. Let's move on now to bonds. So, the risk off environment was definitely in effect this week. Not only, as we said already, was it notable in the VIX, but bonds and gold saw the same thing. So look at bonds. So right now, the bigger picture in bonds, right here, inside month. So right now, still inside the prior month's range. This is what we need to understand though, bonds, is that the trend is still up until you see a low get taken out, because this is a momentum move to the upside. Outside bar up, well, inside bar, I mean. If that low gets taken out, then the momentum move has been extinguished. But this is on the monthly chart, so still a lot of range to go after. On the weekly chart, this is the divergence in time frames. Because on the monthly chart, you have a momentum up situation, outside bar up, but on the weekly chart, you have a momentum down situation, momentum down. So this is where you have to be a little bit flexible, as you have to hold 2 different opinions at the same time. You have to understand that weaker on the weekly charts, but stronger on the monthly. So eventually, if the monthly charts do not break down, then this will become a buyable pullback. So outside bar down, down. Does it keep going down, or if a high gets taken out, that momentum will be extinguished. The high is right there, right? Which is, if they break above that high, that will take it back above the monthly, quarterly open. Okay, so on TLT right now, this is what you want to watch for on Monday. Very, very tight trading right now in this past week, especially the past day. That there basically went zero, went nowhere on Friday. That sets up the outside inside scenario for Monday. Which way does it break, right? Outside inside. Which way does it break, to the downside or the upside? That's what you want to watch. Okay. Gold, was it risk on or risk off this week? Right? It was it was risk off for the most part, but it basically means it went nowhere for the GLD. So gold, big time frame again. Okay. Big time frame on the quarterly chart now. Outside, up, inside. So inside quarter so far, but it's going, right into these highs, taking out all these pivots, and it's a momentum move to the upside on the quarterly chart. On the monthly chart, it is a green month. Okay, so it did take out September's lows, but it popped back up now, defending that quarterly open and green month. Weekly, very, very tight stuff there, right? So it went up 0.3%, but inside of the prior week's range. So here now you definitely want to be watching to see how this breaks on Monday. On the daily chart now, you have this scenario. Look, so this blue line right here, this is Friday's high. So that blue line right there, that is the prior week's high. All it would take to break above Friday's high is for this bar to break to the upside, because this goes up one side, this goes down one side. If they take out this pivot high, they're immediately going after that pivot there, which will trigger the weekly setup, right? Don't forget, the week is right there. That's the week's high, that blue line. So back to the daily chart. If it breaks above this high on Monday, it's going after that high, which will create the weekly inside break to the upside. On the 4-hour chart, this is what's going to give you even a lower time frame signal, is this here. Possible inside bar reversal for GLD on Monday, right? Inside bar down, inside bar on Friday afternoon, it breaks above there. That's the pivot to go after. That, then there's your weekly high. That triggers the weekly bar to the upside. So this is potentially a very, very good setup to go long here now. But if it breaks to the downside, that will invalidate that temporarily, right? Until it can break above the weekly high there. So you definitely want to see how this thing breaks. If it gaps up here, they're immediately going after these pivots there. Gaps down below there, you got to watch out because there's a gap right down there. Okay. Same type of scenario, a little bit different, but silver also has some potential. Slightly different chart. Okay, green month for silver. Inside month. Here, very, very tight sequence, up 0.25% for the week for silver, but trading above the monthly quarterly opens. Down bar. See, so went up, down. If it breaks above this high, that will basically break above the prior week's high. How could it do that? Well, if we take a look here on silver, you want to be looking at this right there. Same thing, inside bar reversal possibly happening here now for SLV. Inside bar down, breaks above here, inside bar reversal that can break above the prior week's high. Because silver, it did extinguish the weekly momentum to the downside once we got into October. So on an equity name, let's look at something like SSRM. If silver breaks out, then something like SSRM is going to set up. Look at the setup here. Inside month like silver. On the weekly chart, you have this outside bar and down, right? So that's momentum to the downside. But as soon as you break above this high, 1484, that sets up the potential for that that momentum to get extinguished and things to go back to the upside again. And that is right here on the 4-hour chart. See the last high, there's your high, outside inside now. On Monday, we break above there, immediately goes after that, and that's going to go after these pivots here. So SSRM, definitely one to watch for the coming week. Let's look at Bitcoin. So digital gold has been very, very weak and coming close to taking out the quarterly inside quarter. Okay, so right now, let's talk about the quarterly bar, inside bar. Actually, I'm going to pick the Bitfinex BTC chart. Okay, so give it a second. Inside quarter, last quarter, coming very close now, taking out the prior quarter's low. This is what I've been watching for a while. And this is very significant because if we take out this inside quarter's low, that's an inside bar reversal to the downside, and that'll put this pivot in play. That low there, 41.24, right? So that's going to be the pivot that's going to be in play first, and then that one, 34.05. So very, very, very dangerous, precarious place now for Bitcoin, as it can definitely come back in the year, 41.24. Okay, on the monthly chart, inside months so far cannot break below the prior month's range, but getting very, very close. That red bar there, or that red line, excuse me, is your quarterly low of the previous quarter. So getting very close here now. Here we have an inside week, very tight trading with Bitcoin, but it is trading below the monthly and the quarterly open and the weekly open. So full time from alignment to the downside. Your bias to the downside right now, and I'm short Bitcoin, full disclosure. So for Bitcoin here, kind of choppy action, but it makes sense if you know what you're looking for. Outside, inside to start the week, and it goes down, outside and down. Momentum move now to the downside, down, 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 down. No highs yet to break this momentum move to the downside. I got short on the 8-hour chart, so sitting on a decent trade right now, up about what, 3R as we speak. Okay. And so let's pull back there, right there. Right here's your, here's your outside inside sequence on the daily chart, but looks like this on the 8-hour. Inside, there's your outside bar right there. Outside up, get short right there, right below there. So if it breaks below there, momentum to the upside's been extinguished, and it comes back through the range, taking out everyone to the downside. So there's your red line down there. You're getting very close to turning that quarter red. The previous quarter, breaking the previous red quarter. Okay, ETH, so Ethereum, also weak, getting very close to taking out the prior quarter's lows. So 3-month chart, look at that, inside quarter last quarter, still inside quarter this quarter. That's the pivot to go after. That also creates an inside bar reversal. That would then put the 138.27 area in play. Okay, so this is what you want to watch for, because Ethereum already triggered. So here's the issue with Ethereum. Last week was a green week, but they could not close it above the weekly monthly open. Well, maybe they did, but it's very, very close. So now the sellers are actually able to push all the way back down again and take out the prior week's low, creating the inside bar reversal. So this here now puts this pivot immediately at risk. Okay, so that pivot there now is the next pivot to play out, because on the intraday chart, on the daily chart, you have momentum move to the downside. So Ethereum, you want to be short that right now, full time from alignment to the downside, with the risk, the opportunity of taking this prior quarter's low out. Okay, so here, outside bar, so inside bar reversal right here, inside bar up, reverse there, boom, 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 boom. There, the red thing, the red line is what you want to be watching. Okay. Okay, so let's fast fire a few charts here now, and then we will wrap things up for today. So let's talk about a few weekly charts here. On the weekly chart, here's GDS. Okay, outside inside setting up here right on that quarterly monthly open. You want to see how that thing breaks. That'll be significant, because then you have a lot of range to go after. Sale beating up a lot, setting up finally an outside inside. Does it keep going down, or does it pop up? This is going to be perfect because it's sitting right there at that level. Billy also been very weak, consolidating for a while now. There's your monthly. This is your weekly chart. The monthly chart here, it's getting tight. Possible inside bar reversal setting up there on the monthly. On the weekly, outside inside. ATI steel name. Okay, same pattern. Outside inside, very worthwhile to put on your watch list, because if that pops, that will take out either side of that range. Slightly different chart, outside and up. Weekly chart here on BABA. So the Chinese names have been doing pretty well, but now look, BABA outside and up, had a bit of momentum, but they gave it all back. Now if it breaks below there, possibly comes back through the range again. Same thing with Baidu, same exact pattern. Okay, China had been some of these Chinese names had been doing well, but now outside and up would not take much for this thing to break below prior week's low, back into the range again, coming back through, back to test these lows. Alarm force, very alarm.com, very weak. So outside up, breaks below there, going back on the lows, going after these lows. Okay, and let's take a look at Starbucks, another bearish name here. Okay, inside and up, breaks below there, inside by reversal to the downside on the weekly chart, full time frame alignment to the downside. Okay, so those are some of the charts that you need to watch out for on the weak side. But I want to change gears a bit now and show 5 charts that are probably the best performing charts on my basket of stocks. So not only the best performing based upon the returns by quarter, but more importantly, this is by modified Sharpe ratio. So you'll see how the Sharpe ratio obviously does a really good job at seeing or catching not just the returns, but the smoothness of the moves. So meaning you're not getting big pullbacks in that general trend. So something like, guess what, the best performing stock right now in my basket of stocks, home builders. So look at Lennar. Lennar Holdings. Look at the weekly chart on that. Okay, so Lennar, very strong. One of the stronger names that I'm tracking. Lennar. So that's the daily chart. Okay, so very strong. ADSW. Okay, so actually this is not a great chart because this is let me take a look here. Going as a buy, it was a buyout candidate, so not a great chart to show up because it's not going anywhere, but going right in the highs, obviously. Crocs, right? So people like the crocodile shoes. Look at that, going right in the highs. Okay, so the retail names are still strong. Some of them, anyways. Crocs. Okay, MPC. Okay, Marathon Petroleum. It's very strong trend here. Okay, on the daily chart. And let's do a couple more. PHM, Putley Homes. Very strong name there. Again, home builder, right into those yearly highs. Okay, so very strong. Actually, Putley may be all-time highs here. Let's go back to the weekly chart. No, not quite all-time highs, but multi-years highs. You have to go back to prior to the 2006 to get a higher high. So Putley Homes definitely doing very well. Now let's contrast that with the worst performing stocks in my basket now, ranked by Sharpe ratio. So by Sharpe ratio, here are the top the 5 worst. So Vonage looking really bad. Okay, so for the past 3 quarters of 3 months, very poor run so far by Vonage. Tilray, marijuana names continue to get beaten up. May have bounced a bit at the end of the week here, but you can just see Tilray. It is going momentum to the downside on the weekly chart. Outside bar down. Sale, the high flyer last year, this year the mirror opposite. Sale been getting crushed as of late, and basically now setting up interesting. I showed you that already, that outside inside pattern earlier. MJ, the marijuana ETF, right? Look at that. It's just going right in the lows. So looking really rough for MJ. Cron, another marijuana name. Marijuana names have been looking really bad, going into those lows. Be outside by this week. And one final one, Beyond. So Beyond Burger, everyone's former Beyond Meat, everyone's former favorite darling, right? They're not looking so hard anymore. Inside bar down. These have been huge selling candles for the past couple weeks. So that wraps up. Actually, I'll do one more because it's interesting. Twitter. Former high flyer, the past several weeks, really giving it up. So outside bar down condition, okay, and continuing to go down that momentum. So that's it for this week's weekly market outlook. If you have any questions, as always, please feel free to leave them in the comment section on the blog or on this YouTube video. As always, if you enjoy the videos, please give us a big thumbs up so we can attract more eyeballs. And if you really like them, please subscribe and share the videos with your friends and cohorts so that we can grow the community. As always, have a great trading week and happy trading.